Today we're going to talk about two newer palettes from Unearthly Cosmetics that I'm honestly so excited to talk to you guys about. So we have the Sorcerous Smoke and the Fall Magic Remastered palettes. So the last palettes I tried from Unearthly Cosmetics was the Don't Be Jelly palette, and I was pretty harsh on that palette. The hard pan is real. I don't think you should have to change how you do your eyeshadow to make a palette work. To me, that's not a good palette. The owner of Unearthly, Amanda, did see my video and she reached out and I gave her some direct feedback about the shimmer formula, similar to what I described in that video, what you can refer back to if you're interested. She was very receptive to the feedback, which I always love when a brand owner is receptive to feedback. And she said she would take into consideration. So when I received these palettes, well, first of all, I was honestly surprised to receive these because honestly, I would not have blamed them for kicking me off the PR list, but I digress. I could just tell from looking at the shimmers that the formula was going to be different, and the formula is different, I'm happy to report. I talked to Amanda again. She said the feedback was helpful in going back to the manufacturer and kind of tweaking the formula and improving it. So honestly, that just made me so happy. It just made me have a whole new level of respect for Unearthly. So anyway, I did receive these in PR and I am an affiliate with the brand. If you use my code SEEKINGSHIFTS, you save 10% on your purchase and I earn a small commission. But as always, I'm going to try to remain as fair and objective as possible. Let's start with the palette that I have not been able to shut up about over on Instagram. So we have the Sorcerous Smoke palette first. This retails for $65 or $58.50 if you use my affiliate code. These, I believe, are 26mm squares and they are magnetic / removable, which adds a ton of value in my opinion. But okay, come on. If you know me, look at this palette and tell me this is not me in a palette. Like, are you kidding me? It is so beautiful. The mattes are a perfect mix of these like grungy paint water tones and neutrals. And I love Unearthly's matte formula. It's very, very easy to work with. And I think the colors included in here are just so well thought out. But I need to talk to you about the shimmers in here. The shimmers. When I first swatched these, my soul levitated outside of my body. I transcended space and time and I was watching myself swatch these from outside of the physical realm. Like, they are the most twinkly, sparkly, complex, unique, dimensional, delicious shimmers I think I have ever seen. There's just something about them that is so elevated and stunning. And there's a good mix of topper shades and more opaque shades in here. So let me go ahead and get into each shade. I'll do some close-up swatches. First, we have Verbian, which is a more opaque and shiny shade. It has some sparkles in it too. It's this like muted, grungy, mauve, taupe, gold, green shifting shade. It's like the perfect everyday wearable multi-chrome. It's silky smooth, has a high shine finish, absolutely no hard pan. And it has a bunch of green flecks of sparkles. It is stunning. You can use it on your own. It won't give you that like weird muddiness around the edge. Or you can pair it with pretty much any of these mattes. And then we have Transfix, which has a transparent base and it reflects mostly like a pale green with different size sparkle particles. I see teal, orange, and gold flecks of sparkles in it. I've used this as a topper shade, but I've also used it in combination with a more sparkly shade in the center, which I have up as a reel on my Instagram if you want to see. Then we have Sorcerous, which is a sheer pink. It's very similar to Transfix in that it has this transparent base and different color and size sparkle particles. It has these like hot pink sparkles, silver, and gold. It's just insanely dimensional and complex, but still somehow like quote unquote wearable. Then we have the shade Potent. This is the shade that sent me into orbit. This is straight up crushed diamonds. It's what Space Cowboy wishes it could be. It's a pale ground with a zillion sparkles in varying size. It literally looks like a disco ball in your eyes. I've worn this throughout the day twice. And personally, I haven't had any fallout, but take that with a grain of salt because my eyelids are very unproblematic. And just if you're concerned about wear time in general, I would say definitely check out multiple reviews, especially from people who have similar experiences with eyeshadow to you. Then we have Ritual, which is this deep, rich brown, and it has gold and pink sparkle particles. They're a bit more dispersed, and I love that this shade can go with pretty much any of the topper shades. So it really gives you a ton of options, and you can do a simple look where you like slap this on your lid, buff it around the edges, and tap one of these topper shades in the very center. Like, that's something I can see myself doing a lot with this palette. The last shimmer in here is called Nightshade, and this is like an oil slick black base, and I'm saying oil slick in terms of finish. It's not like actual oil texture, but it has a bunch of blue sparkles in it, just silky smooth, and I love this subtle pop of color in here. It really adds to how much you can do with this palette. You can use it as like a smoked out wing, you can pair it with one of these more topper shades, just really adds a lot in terms of versatility. Overall, this palette has been an immediate favorite for me, and I'm having a hard time using any other palette lately because I just love this so much. Like, I'm going out of town town for Thanksgiving, and I'm pretty sure this is the only palette I'm going to bring because it has literally everything I need for everyday makeup, and it has like those pops of something special for if I want to be extra, which let's be real, I want to be extra all the time. Here's the Fall Magic palette. So this is a little bit more expensive. It retails for $72 or $64.80 if you use an affiliate code. This one is definitely a different vibe, and from what I understand, this is a remastered version of the original Fall Magic palette, which I do not have. I think this is definitely a completely different vibe compared to Sorcerous Smoke. I love that you can kind of break this up into quads if you're not sure which direction to go with the palette, or you can even kind of go down each column and create a really easy look because you can pair the matte with the corresponding shimmer. The mattes were more vibrant than I was expecting when I swatched them out. I think this is just a perfect assortment of fall tones without being like too on the nose about it, and I really like that there's so much depth in this palette. There are 3 shades, Earthy, Branch, and Snug, that really add a lot of depth to a look. Let's talk about the shimmers in here. These again are just fantastic. I've had a very similar experience with these as I had to the shimmers in the Sorcerous Smoke palette. So first we have Crisp, which is a true iridescent. It's green, teal, blue shifting. It's so shiny and reflective, and it's actually a really unique iridescent multichrome. I do have one dupe, which I'll show you when I get to the comparisons, but other than that, I don't know of any dupes to this type of multichrome, so it is really unique if you ask me. Next we have Leaves, which is a mid-tone olive gold green shade with pink and green pinprick sparkles. It's very smooth and shiny, and then the sparkles add some extra dimension and complexity to it. Then we have Autumn, which is one of the more sparkly high impact shades for sure. It's this like mid-tone peach with a semi-sheer base and has hot pink and gold sparkles. This one has a larger particle size than the other shimmers in the palette, so it really packs a punch. Then we have Enchanting, my favorite shade in the palette. This is like a Barbie pink with a strong gold reflex and teal sparkles. It just somehow works with every single matte in this palette, and it's so unique and beautiful. Like, I don't have anything like this in my collection, and I really just want to go in here and swatch it all the time because it just gives me so much joy to look at. Okay, then we have Magic, which is more of a jeweled multichrome shade. It's this like rich magenta gold green shifting shade. Again, it's pretty unique. I don't have anything quite like this. It has more of a straight up foiled finish, so I do like that there's a variety of textures in here. And last we have Change, which is a muted purple with shifts of like pink, purple, gold, green. This one's different in texture than any of the shades in either of the palettes. It feels squishy to me, and I'm not sure how this would do in terms of wear time. It feels like it might have more oil in it or something. So if anyone has experience, please let us know in the comments. I haven't had a chance to wear this on my eyes all day, and also I just don't recommend using me as a reference in terms of wear time because I don't really ever get creasing. But yeah, that's the Fall Magic palette. Unearthly honestly just comes up with the best color stories. So okay, let's go ahead and get into the 2 looks I did. I did 1 look with each palette, and I definitely will be coming back and doing more in photos and reels on Instagram, so make sure to follow me on there if you're not already. Okay, so for the first look, I started off with the shade Vision on a fluffy blending brush. I thought this would be more of a pink in the pan, but it definitely pulled a lot warmer on me, which is a vibe. I'm in my warm tones era, so I actually ended up really loving how it looked on my eyes. So I'm just like diffusing that all over, and then I'm going in with the shade Intention, and I'm starting to kind of map out the shape of a wing. So I'm bringing that out from my like outer half of my lid and like swooping it all the way out to the end of my brow. Then with a small dense brush, I went into the shade Soot, and I kind of just like stamped on a more precise wing, and I was basically blending it into that brown shade as I was going. My eyes have been so dry and irritated lately, so I've been using Fear and a Pixie epoxy just to have kind of a base for the eyeshadows to adhere to, so I'm just tapping that on my lid. Then I went in with kind of a flat tapered brush and took the shade Ritual and stamped that on my lid on the outer half, kind of like diffusing into that wing I mapped out and bringing it towards the center of my eyelid. Then I went into the shade Sorceress with my ring finger, and I just kind of tapped that on my lid. Started with the very center, and I brought it into the inner third. Then with that same flat tapered brush from before, I went into the shade Potent, and I brought that in my inner corner, and then with what's left on the brush, I brought it into the swoop of my lid. I feel like this kind of just like tied everything together and added that extra twinkle that brought this look to the next level. Surprisingly, I did not get any fallout. Then I went in with a small pencil brush and brought that into my inner corner and just like really close, like almost like tight lining underneath my lash line. And here's the final look. This ended up being one of my favorite looks that I've ever done. I felt so pretty when I was wearing this in person. I just love it so much. For the Fall Magic look, I started with the shade Forage with a fluffy blending brush, and I put that in my crease. She is very potent. A little bit goes a long way, but it blended very easily. So I just buffed that all over and brought it underneath my lash line. There is no cute way to do this. Then with a smaller blending brush, I went into the shade Earthy, brought that into my outer corner. So sorry, I'm out of frame. Then with a kind of flat tapered brush, I went into the shade Leaves and brought that onto the outer third of my eyelid and kind of like blended it into that deep outer corner. Cleaned off that brush and went into the shade Enchanting and applied that all over the inner half of my lid. You see what I mean? How it's like a pink, but it somehow goes with like literally every matte in the palette. It is so beautiful. Then with a large pencil brush, I went into the shade Autumn and put that on my inner corner and brought that into the very tight area, like underneath my lash line, kind of like I did with that first look. Here's the final look. Loved how this came out as well. I feel like such a fun way to incorporate a little bit of color, but still have an approachable look. Okay, now let's get into some comparisons. These were actually pretty unique, so I didn't have too many shades to compare with them, but hopefully it can be helpful to try to understand what these look like or see if you have something similar in your collection. Okay, so let me know, are you planning to pick any of these up? Are they going on your wish list? Honestly, if I had to just recommend one, I would say Sorcerous Smoke 100%, especially if you have similar taste to me. I literally cannot stop screaming about this from the rooftops. I want to reach for it every single day. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you liked it. Hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And other than that, I will see you in the next one. Bye!